Conversion rate will definitely be better if you're leading traffic to a listing which has the additional incentive to buy. Like I mentioned, coupons, price cuts, lightning deals, etc.
This is the E-commerce Braintrust, a podcast about building momentum online for established consumer brands. Join our hosts and their expert guests for high-level conversations about e-commerce strategies, trends, and innovations. Access our Braintrust and boost your brand's e-commerce potential.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Braintrust podcast. I'm your host, Kiri Masters, and today I'm joined by Stefan Jordev, who is the advertising director at Bobsled Marketing. Welcome back, Stefan.
Hi, Kiri. Thanks for having me again.
We were just talking before we got on the mic this morning, and we're recording this on Friday, the last day of the Prime Day week, both saying how we're looking forward to stopping talking about Prime Day. It's been a big week for everyone.
Yeah. I think the feeling is definitely mutual there.
Yeah, and because we've been, obviously, with our clients at Bobsled, it's not like all our work for Prime Day started on Monday. We've been preparing for this for months now. And then there's the actual event, which everyone is sort of on tenterhooks a little bit to see how things are going to go. And there's the campaigns that we're all nervous about. I think just generally speaking, from a broad perspective, this event went off pretty well for Amazon in general, and most of the brands that I've spoken with and certainly our clients have generally had a very, very positive experience from this year's Prime Day. Do you agree?
I definitely agree. I have to agree there. Absolutely. I think, is it the fourth one? I think it's the fifth Prime Day that Amazon has run. And I think in many aspects is the best one they've had.
Yeah, for sure. Well, last year it was very frustrating because there were a lot of technical issues and a lot of brands that had paid big money for lightning deals and had set up significant advertising campaigns were sort of left holding the bag because Amazon's site was pretty extensively down. And that was actually the whole basis of a big ad campaign that eBay did this year, where they called their event the Crash Sale, because of Amazon's website crashing last year. So that was one of the themes that we're going to talk about today, is that the effect of other retailers on Prime Day. And this is something that I put a post together, or a couple of posts now together on Forbes, about how well some other retailers made out this Prime Day. So sites that saw a massive increase in sales and traffic this year included Nike, Best Buy, The Gap, and Macy's saw very significant gains in sales this year. And it was because, in my opinion at least, this is the first year that other retailers really got serious about Prime Day. And they all came out with their own sales. And guess what? They were all on the 15th and 16th of July. And they stopped resisting this effort and started to embrace, hey, we don't like Amazon a whole lot, but they've kind of given the whole retail industry a massive gift in the middle of summer, in the dog days of summer when nothing much happens and no one's spending any money. They've sort of changed the economy. And instead of resisting that, retailers finally embraced it this year and they put on their own sales. They really hyped them up. They had genuinely good deals, and the whole retail category, I think, really benefited from that. It's created this like snowball effect where Amazon benefits even from their competitors running these deals.
Definitely seems so, Kiri. It definitely seems like this was a win-win-win situation where Amazon, its users and sellers on Amazon, and like you pointed out, other platforms benefited as well. I have to say, it's been a few days since the second day of Prime Day passed, and I am seeing some happy sellers. Obviously, I think the folks at Amazon are happy. And like you pointed out, I think other platforms find unique and creative ways, and a lot of them got involved much more this year. And ultimately, everybody benefited.
Yep, for sure. All right. So obviously this year was a little bit longer than the others, 2 days instead of a day and a half, which it was last year. I think that accounted for some portion of the uplift, but across the board, we found, and anecdotally speaking with other people in the industry as well, that day one was significantly better than day two in terms of sales and overall results.
It was. It definitely, the data we have shows that the first day was much stronger. I think we can consider people not knowing that Prime Day would extend to be 48 hours and just trying to do all their shopping on Monday. But even though the second day of the Prime Day 48-hour sale was lower in sales, I actually think the length of it and how it tied together made a lot of sense. We saw a lot of happy clients, a lot of happy sellers after the 15th. And to having a similar portion of those sales happen again the next day, I really think Amazon played this one right.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think some of the analytics that came out from Adobe, who was tracking non-Amazon sales and tracked like 1 trillion transactions or some crazy data set, they found that the sales in the second day were still strong, not quite as strong as the first day, but still strong. And when they broke it down, they found that it was because conversion increased rather than like total traffic. So what's obviously happening here is people are visiting the site on the first day, figuring out how they're going to spend their money. And then if whatever deals they don't get on the first day, they go back on the second day and they check out right away, and the conversion is really fast. So I think that we don't know what Amazon's going to do next year for Prime Day, whether they're going to keep it at 48 hours or extend it to a week or, whatever crazy thing they have planned. But that's an interesting thing to keep in mind, is that the sales volume is going to be higher earlier on in a sale event like this, but the conversion will probably grow over time as well. And so that's why it's important to consider with things like advertising that you don't just shut off all your campaigns after the first day, for example.
Absolutely.
All right. Well,
no, I was just going to comment around the advertising before and after Prime Day. I just wanted to say I definitely agree with you running the campaigns leading up to Prime Day and some days later. And I would much rather be very, very straightforward and share with everybody that I do not expect the same level of sales in the days leading up to Prime Day and the days after Prime Day, for very, very logical reasons, with people holding off on making a purchase before the discount comes and after that. But like you said, just stopping all your campaigns is never a good idea, whether it's related to a promotional activity or not. So just pacing your campaigns and finding that additional budget to have it run leading up to Prime Day and some days after it, it pays off in the long run, I think.
That's good to know. All right, well, let's move into some of the observations that we found within our client base, which really spans across most categories on Amazon, about 50 or so brands. So tell us sort of after digging into the data over the last couple of days, what were some of your big observations?
So I have to say, like you pointed out, we're working with 50 brands, a little more than 50, I think, but still, when you calculate the data, it may not present a whole picture of what was happening. But we do collect data each Prime Day and compare it to the years before. And the numbers we're looking at are actually very encouraging. Obviously, we cannot make an observation on a general category level, but we do have some clients which operate in the same category. And we can the first conclusion I would draw from this is, I think, as we pointed out, everybody benefited. We did not see same sales levels as the day before or even any day of July or the month before. There were very drastic increases, like we saw increases in sales. This is total sales and sales from advertising going 100% more, from 100% to 1400% increase, which was just amazing to observe. And I really think this is tied to all the activities, advertising and non-advertising related, like promotions, even having enough inventory to sell through the both days of Prime Week. We definitely saw different results per category and even per unique brand. But ultimately, I think the point remains that everybody ended up being happy and everybody benefited.
That's good to know, because there's some brands out there who sort of cross their arms and refuse to participate in Prime Day because they know CPCs are going to go up, cost per click is going to go up, and maybe the perception is that the hoopla isn't worth it, or that it's not going to be a profitable activity for them, which, yes, we don't run the P&L for our clients, so that could well be the case. But I'm curious to know, out of our client set as well, were there any that sort of took that position and didn't really run deals, didn't want to increase their ad budget, and they still saw an increase? Or did we pretty much have buy-in from all of our clients to go big for Prime Day?
So I have to be honest, I think 2018, we had a lot more skeptical clients than is this year. Like the points you made, I've heard it from several clients last year that they didn't want to participate as much. They didn't want to do anything special. I think that might have jinxed the Amazon website last year with with the website not being available for a few hours. I think there was a lot more enthusiasm this year. I do not recall having a conversation with a client being skeptical. Basically, I think everybody has accepted this. Agencies, clients, sellers, vendors, we all had to accept that, yes, this does come with reduced profit margins. This can lead to increased cost per click. You are going to spend more, but everything considered, and I think I just want to go to a point you made earlier in the conversation. This is the summer period. If you want to invest in advertising, now would be the time to do it. I would much, much rather sell so much volume, even at lower profit margins. But I think just having that sales volume that can potentially lead to repeat purchases and reviews on your listing, I would choose to invest as much money as I can spare during Prime
that's
Day.
a good point. I've only seen a couple of comments here and there from people on LinkedIn saying, well, we didn't do anything for Prime Day and our sales still went up a little bit. And the response to that is, well, how much more would you have increased your sales if you had actually invested? I think, just generally, I agree with you. The general consensus this year has been more about investing in the event because it is a bright spot in the middle of summer. So what kind of strategies worked this year from an advertising standpoint?
So the very first advice I would share with anybody who would ask me this before Prime Day was to tie advertising to any other type of promotional activities you have. And I think a lot of people have realized it. Basically, we've trained consumers, we've trained customers to go on that listing and look for a coupon, look for a lightning deal, look for any type of discount. I do believe that leading paid traffic to a listing which did not have a promotion running at that time period may have been hurting your conversion rates a little bit just because of the reasons I shared.
Yeah, because everyone's expecting a deal.
Absolutely. I think, and if we're being honest, we were all expecting deals. I think every one of us shared that we had that item we wanted to buy July the 1st, and it was maybe even added to our cart, but we didn't go on to buy it until the 15th. Basically, I think that's the main thing, and I think it goes really well for every day of the year. Conversion rate will definitely be better if you're leading traffic to a listing which has the additional incentive to buy. Like I mentioned, coupons, price cuts, lightning deals, etc. Additional things, and these are in no way similar to having that additional incentive to buy, but just something that helped us organize a little bit better was we would have Prime Day campaigns, which would involve many products and which would be limited to the duration of Prime Day only. This just gave us some organizational benefits because we would be able to intervene in the budget or bids increase as needed on Prime Day. And once the Prime Day was done, we would be able to generate data quickly. If we would have done this with the existing campaigns, the data might have been a bit affected with the days leading up to Prime Day or before. And it might have made things a little more complicated just from a management point. But I think having a dedicated Prime Day campaign helps us organize. And ultimately, when the next Prime Day comes, it would be much, much easier to compare the results and the efforts put into this compared to the results we'll get next year.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to be able to more easily compare and contrast to previous periods and ideally year to year as well. Correct a misinformed assumption I had, which is that in the PPC world, it's ideal to let campaigns mature with more time. So is there any downside to setting up these discrete campaigns just for Prime Day?
That is a concern, which I think is a very, very minor one if you do your homework before Prime Day. So the assumption there, and I think your main point, Kiri, was I always quote this sentence I heard at a conference, that Amazon runs on coal, that it needs a few hours maybe until the campaigns are set up and running. I think that concern can be solved by just having the campaign running the day before, launching the campaign the day before Prime Day. The additional concern towards campaign maturity might be the negative keywords we've collected over the years. But if you just export those from your existing campaigns and add them to the campaign you're about to launch, that would help you run with that campaign instantly as well. So I do believe that mature campaigns tend to perform better, and there are a lot of hypotheses about this. For Prime Day in particular, I think there were days, just for the limited runtime campaigns, I think there were ways to work around this. And I think the added organization and just being able to intervene faster makes up for these concerns we have for longer running campaigns. Because being able to intervene at 10 a.m. when the campaign is out of budget is definitely a bigger benefit than being afraid this new campaign will not run and having to go through hundreds of campaigns, adjusting bids and budgets, which might take most of Prime Day for a lot of people to complete.
Gotcha. Okay. So the risk reward is just better to set up separate campaigns. That's good to know.
I believe it's worth it, yes.
Excellent. And you also mentioned something about working with portfolios, which is a fairly new feature to Amazon advertising, which I don't think was around last year for Prime Day.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I think my actual words were thank God for portfolios. I really enjoyed working with those. I think the main benefit there was a lot of brands were giving us approved budget per product line. A lot of brands had, tens and hundreds of product lines they were running promotions on. And they wanted to ensure that a certain percentage of the overall approved budget goes to a given product line. And just Portfolio made this so much easier. We would just add a budget cap on a portfolio level. Obviously, we had these build out before Prime Day, but just organizing the approved marketing budgets was much, much easier thanks to this feature.
Excellent. Great. Well, anything else you want to add around Prime Day, particularly from a PPC standpoint, maybe things that you're going to look back on next year and use to inform your strategy next year, or even for Q4?
A lot of the strategies can definitely be replicated for Q4, and I think I'm definitely looking forward to that. For Prime Day in particular, like I said, I just want to end with a general conclusion. I think the data we have is definitely encouraging. As we go client by client and we work with data on the 15th and the 16th, and actually we can look through the rest of the week as well, I think we're actually entering a period with lower sales as expected now. I think we might have some additional lessons learned, but so far it's definitely looking like we had a very successful and prosperous Prime Day for everyone.
Excellent. Well, that is a good way to close out the week and close out this conversation. Thank you, Stefan, for pulling all that together. And yeah, looking forward to using some of these strategies again in Q4.
Thank you so much, Kiri.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. And I wanted to let you know about a new project I'm working on, which is my second book. I'm actually co-authoring a book this time with one of my friends and media experts, Mark Power from Podium. And we're co-authoring a book called Amazon for CMOs. And it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. This is Amazon strategies and insights for senior level retail executives. What we've done is distill our experience of working with brands, both small and very, very large Fortune 500 brands, into a book for executives to get a sense of what's going on within Amazon. What can we learn about their leadership principles and the way that they make decisions. What are their frameworks for deciding what to work on, how to prioritize things? We've also talked with a dozen CMOs and retail executives from CPG brands to get their take on what makes a successful Amazon channel, what they've done within their brands, where Amazon fits within their organization, how do they innovate? So we've really tried to take a voice of the industry as well as our experience working with these brands as consultants. So this book is going to launch in early September. And if you'd like to learn more about book and be on the mailing list for when this first launches, so you can get it for free when it first launches on Amazon, go to amazonforcmos.com. That's amazonforcmos.com.